If looks could kill, certain phones would take the cake in leaving a dramatic first impression, and that's exactly how I felt when I held the HTC U Ultra back in January in Vegas. The presentation sold me on a few concepts that make this phone essential, and now it's time to take it for a spin. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow, and these are my first impressions. So the key selling point for the HTC U Ultra during our first look back in Vegas were two things. HTC was bored of making aluminum phones and wanted to try something different, and the company also wanted to make software smarter, as the company considers that AI is the new industrial revolution of our time. When it comes to hardware, the company has succeeded. I mean, really, do I need to say more than what the camera already shows? The HTC U Ultra is simply gorgeous. As opposed to your standard glass finish, the phone features a set of curves on the edges that almost make it feel like if you're holding polished aluminum. The sapphire blue color is simply striking from a distance. Software is where things took a slight curve in the company's intent. I mean, if you go through the setup process, it's more like your typical HTC phone than your standard Android phone. You follow some elements of HTC Sense, some elements of Android, you add your fingerprint for security, and then you personalize your phone. Once all this is done, you're greeted with HTC Sense, almost as you remember it with the old HTC 10. I'm a big fan of Sense, so I won't complain, but it does seem like if the spacey grid of icons still hasn't been updated to take more advantage of the screen real estate. Now, where things go wrong is, I don't know if you noticed that there's actually something missing. Well, HTC spent a great deal of their presentation in Vegas telling us about how important AI was to this phone and how the HTC Companion app was going to be able to pull that off. But, well, it's not here. It apparently won't be ready for another month, so we're kind of left to judge the U Ultra just like we judge any other smartphone. As a regular smartphone on its own, there are a few good things and bad things to talk about. On a positive front, I am very impressed by this 5.7-inch Super LCD5. It's only when you turn it on that you notice the display lighting up blacks. The rest of the time, the blacks are simply imperceptible, and the level of saturation of this display is striking, favoring reds more than I've ever seen before, even on the HTC 10. The secondary display is meant to not rip off the LG V20 and just being another screen, but without the HTC Companion application, its current operation is limited to everything we already know from the V20. Another major positive is HTC's ViewSonic boom sound, which has grown to no longer require input to be set up. Simply plug in your earphones, let the software detect the noise around you, and that is it. And you can adjust it for different noise profiles when needed, like when you're in the subway or something. And the resulting sound is, as expected from HTC, just amazing. Now, something else that is a very pleasant surprise, and that's also a positive, is this camera combo. I mean, HTC has spent years struggling with its cameras, but the U Ultra brings a genius 12 ultrapixel primary camera that has really shined in saturation in both day and night. And I actually love this whole concept of the 16 megapixel selfie shooter that turns into a 4 ultrapixel camera, even though I'm not much of a fan of selfies. The point being is, I've taken photos of flowers, which is really hard to come by in the winter in New York, and I'm just shocked at how well this camera balances things like bokeh, where the HTC 10 was always hit or miss. Where things kind of go wrong really depends on your taste, and it mainly has to do with design choices. For example, I am still trying to understand why this phone is so large. It's larger than the iPhone 7 Plus, which is logical since it has a larger screen, but then it's larger than the LG V20, even if it's sporting the same display size, and it's even larger than the Huawei Mate 9, and the Mate 9 has a larger screen than this HTC U Ultra. And so you ask yourself, you have such a large phone and you wonder why there aren't essentials like a headphone jack, where there is clearly enough real estate for that to happen. Now, in HTC's defense, the company has done an amazing job in providing really good weight distribution for this phone. It doesn't really feel heavy in the hand, and obviously the glass makes it feel pleasant. The problem is when you try to fumble around reaching buttons all around. There are times when even my large hands aren't able to reach navigation buttons at the bottom of the phone. All in all, this is definitely a two-handed phone, so make sure you use the case that comes in the box, as you will definitely drop this phone trying to fumble using it. Overall, the honeymoon phase with the HTC U Ultra has proven to be more interesting than I thought. This is probably one of the most beautiful phones that I've ever seen, and there is a lot of promise in what this phone will do with the software included over time. I actually even find it unfair to start this review process with a phone that's not really ready to meet its full potential, but given the fact that this phone is already available to certain consumers at a hefty price tag, it is only fair that we get to work and tell you what you're really buying into right at this moment. While our testing process continues, the easiest way to know when our next video goes live is if you follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow me on Twitter, Jaime_Rivera, or on Instagram at Jaime Rivera. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I am Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.